There by the gate is Lara, the brown donkey. And the next one with the white blaze on her face is Martha. And then behind her, light red with white frosting is what I call him. His name is Sasha. And so I'm gonna give them their breakfast. It's actually their second breakfast. They need to eat throughout the day and they're getting a little impatient. So I'm gonna go over there and give them their hay bags. All right, Liz, quit kicking. Quit kicking. Run. That's Lara. And Martha. And Lara actually knows that she's going to eat in the last bag, but she tries to get a bite out of everyone else's bag first. Somewhere along the line, people who lived here had many horses, so we have some pretty good facilities to start with. This is the gate that will open for the donkeys to go out on their track. So the track will start from the gate, which you saw opened in, and the fencing, we'll use electric fencing to mark out the path that the donkeys should follow. They will go from their paddock along the edge of the property, which you can see has wire fencing with T-posts, which that will stay, and about 10 to 15 feet inside the fence is where the electric fence will be. And the electric fencing needs to run 2 lines that are electrified and 1 that works like a ground, because we have very sandy soil. And so we'll go from here. They'll go along the fence. All the way down to the bottom of our property, which you can see from here, and we'll walk along that way too. So now I'm going to walk along the track that the donkeys will follow when they're out here in their paddock paradise. Once it's finished, we'll keep the grasses mowed very short inside the paddock paradise, and eventually as they walk, they will tamp down the surface and there won't be any grass, which is part of the aim of doing a track system, because although we might think it's really nice to see donkeys and horses in beautiful green grass fields, we have this image that this is the best thing for them. It isn't really very good for donkeys or horses. If you think about donkeys' evolutionary history, they're an animal who evolved to thrive in a desert environment. So even here where we don't have very nice grass, it's still way too rich for them. So they'll come down here to the edge of our property where you can see we have a wire mesh fence. And this part of the property goes along railroad tracks. So they'll turn and go along this fence line. And then here, there'll be a turnoff to go into this copse of mesquite trees. They really like to hang around in those trees. So there'll be a corner that they turn. They can spend time in that little shady space, and then they will come back out on the track and continue along. And then you can see there's a little barn here. The electric fence will go from where they come back out of the shady space. It'll turn again and get quite wide here and head from the shady space across this kind of wide expanse up to the area underneath this roof. And then underneath, the fence will pass underneath here, but not touching the little metal building. Little metal building right now is storage, but it could, I think when the people had the minis who lived here before, they had hay stored in there. So we'll go back to storing hay in the metal building. Then at this place, the donkeys will have a water station and some hay and a place that they can go out of the rain if it starts raining. Because when it rains here, it tends to just be a drenching downpour and last for a little while and then stop and get hot again. Or it rains for like 40 days in a row. So they do have a need for shade. So far, they haven't really used this area, but when their choices are constrained by the fencing, I think that, and when it has food and water, I think that they will change their mind and they will use it. This is another area that they really enjoy, where the mesquite trees are. So this will be the end of the track, at least for now. They'll come all the way up. The fencing will go to this fence that goes across the property. I had this brilliant idea that if we left 1/4 of the property unmanicured, that we could see what a real Texas prairie would look like. Well, as you can see, we have too many invasive plants now for that to happen, and I have to help it. So we have mesquite trees, and then all the brush that you see is also mesquite. And so I am little by little removing all of that. There is a marshy pond that you can see. So eventually we will extend the track, change the fencing. At the moment, along the edge of the property, along the railroad track, we don't have any fencing. So that's something that'll come up after we get a really cool, not just a decent, but a really cool paddock paradise for the donkeys. So when they get down here, they have the opportunity to hang out in their favorite mesquite trees. You see, they provide some really nice browsing. The donkeys like to eat bark and chew on wood. And they also provide opportunities for scratching donkey backs. The donkeys aren't very tall, so this is a pretty perfect area for them to hang out and do all their favorite stuff. The area where I'm standing now will be inside the electric fence that marks off the donkey's track. And what we have here is pretty unmanicured. I do mow parts of it. And it is habitat for pollinators, for butterflies and bees. And the brown grass that you see is a native grass called Texas blue stem. And then the wildflowers are just beginning to come out. Where I'm actually standing is in the middle of a labyrinth that we started to build last spring, and it got kind of overgrown, but we're gonna keep working on it. I need to get more stones. We're marking it out with stones, and it's wide enough that you'll be able to walk with an equine in a 7 feet wide track that goes in a spiral and then reverses so that you go out in another spiral. And so people who come here to do retreats would be able to walk with a donkey next to them. The donkeys will be able to come out in this central area as long as they're doing stuff with people. And then the track will be their space where they do their own thing. And so it will be a place that along their track, I'll place their hay bags like you saw when they got their breakfast, and that will keep them moving. This is another thing about donkeys and horses. They are meant to be moving as long as they're awake, essentially. And their digestive system and their legs and feet work much better when they have an opportunity to continue walking. So we have a really cool opportunity with the donkey track to keep them as healthy as possible and to have the best possible habitat for pollinators and other native small animals. We have pocket gophers and lots of different insects. We have lizards and other reptiles, snakes. And so this area is where they will be. I don't know if you can see them, but we have some birds flying around. We have pretty good selection of raptors around here. This is a vulture that just dipped down. And we also have hawks and caracara that fly over looking to see if there's something that they can eat. And seasonally, I hear great horned owls as well. And I was really thrilled this week that I heard the great horned owl. I think at this time of year, the owl is probably calling for a mate. So this is us. We have a lot of really neat plans, and I'm really, really super grateful to people who want to learn about what we're doing and perhaps support what we're doing. So thank you.